Your mind never stops. Even when you try to rest, it's there, chattering, analyzing, narrating every moment as if your life depends on it. A voice that follows you everywhere, exhausting you with its endless demands. Here's the truth you've been avoiding. That voice isn't you. It never was. And everything you've been searching for, peace, clarity, freedom, has been buried beneath the noise of your own thinking. Not somewhere far away, not in some future moment when life finally gets easier. Right here, right now, hidden in plain sight. But you keep running, keep seeking, keep believing that the next achievement, the next relationship, the next spiritual technique will finally quiet the storm inside you. How much longer will you wait? How many more thoughts will you believe before you realize they've been lying to you all along? Ramana Maharshi, one of India's most revered sages, spent his life pointing to something so obvious most people never see it. He didn't offer complicated philosophies, didn't promise enlightenment after years of practice. He pointed to silence, to stillness, to what remains when you stop pretending to be someone. He asked one question that shattered everything for those brave enough to listen. Who am I? And then he said something that sounds almost insulting in its simplicity. Be still. What could be easier than that? But here's what cuts through all the spiritual nonsense. Stillness isn't something you achieve. It's what's left when you stop performing, when you stop trying to become, when you finally stop running from yourself. Today, we simply invite ourselves to rest in the space beneath thought and witness the silence that has always been here, untouched, unchanging, waiting patiently for you to remember. This contemplation offers a quiet way to understand how stillness isn't passive. It's the most powerful thing you'll ever do, because it dissolves the mind that suffers and reveals what you are when the costume comes off. Let me ask you something. In deep sleep, where is your anxiety? Where are your problems? Where is the you that worries about everything? Gone, vanished. And yet, something continues. Something aware, something at peace. What if that peace is your natural state, and thinking is the interruption? Stay with me here. Ramana taught that the mind is like clouds covering the sun. The sun doesn't disappear when clouds block it. It's still there, constant, unchanging. Your thoughts are those clouds. They don't define you. They obscure what you are. And you've become so hypnotized by the movement, you've forgotten the light that never flickers. Every thought begins with I want this. I fear that. I need more. I'm not enough. But who is this I that thinks? Who is this voice? You might say, that's me. But if it's you, then who is aware of the voice? Who is listening? This is where Ramana's teaching cuts like a blade. He said the ego, the sense of being a separate, struggling self, is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. Remove the thoughts, and where is the ego? It's like trying to find darkness. When you turn on the light, it simply isn't there. You've spent your entire life trying to fix something that was never broken. Let that sink in. Your duty is to be, and not to be, this or that. You've been becoming, improving, proving, defending. But what if there's nothing to fix? What if the only problem is that you believe you're a problem? Stillness is what remains when you stop trying to be anything else. Ramana described 4 types of silence: the silence of speech, the silence of the eyes, the silence of the ears, and the silence of the mind. The first three are easy. Close your mouth, close your eyes, cover your ears. But the silence of the mind, that's where everything happens. That's where liberation lives. He said, from silence came thought, from thought came the ego, from the ego came speech. So, if you want to return to peace, you reverse the process, not by force, not by suppressing anything, but by investigating where thoughts come from. When a thought arises, desire, fear, anger, shame, don't follow it into the story. Don't analyze why it's there. Instead, turn the attention back. Ask, to whom does this thought occur? The answer will always be, to me. Then ask the only question that matters. Who am I? This isn't philosophy. This is surgery. Every time you ask, who am I? You're pulling attention away from the thought and back to the witness, back to the one who is aware. And when you rest there, even for a heartbeat, the thought loses its grip. It fades, and in its place, there's just space. Peace isn't something you find. It's what finds you when you stop looking. Imagine the ocean. On the surface, there are waves, constant movement, turbulence, noise. But dive deeper, past the surface chaos, past the currents, and you'll find stillness. Total, perfect stillness. The pearl rests at the bottom of the ocean, small, precious, hidden beneath everything you've been distracted by. Ramana said the most valuable thing is at the very depths, and the same is true for you. The truth of who you are isn't loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't announce itself. It's quiet, still, waiting beneath everything you've been taught to believe about yourself. Here's what's radical. You don't need to earn this. You don't need to meditate for years or become a saint. Stillness is already here. It's what you are when the mind stops pretending otherwise. Ramana called this the natural state. Not mystical, not out of reach. Natural, like breathing, like being. He said, the self is revealed only to the consciousness that is silent, clear, and free from the activity of the suffering and agitated mind. So how do you quiet the mind? Not by fighting it, not by forcing it, but by withdrawing your interest. Every time you believe a thought, you feed it. Every time you argue with it, resist it, try to fix it, you give it power. But when you simply observe it, without attachment, without judgment, it dissolves on its own. Think of thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. The sky doesn't chase them, doesn't try to hold them or push them away. It allows them to pass. And you are the sky, vast, open, unchanging. Stillness is what holds all movement. What would your life feel like if you stopped believing every thought that appeared in your mind? Let's pause here, not to think, but to experience. Close your eyes, if you're able. Take a slow breath in. Feel the air filling your lungs. Now release it. Notice the silence that follows, the space between the exhale and the next inhale. That space is always there. You just never noticed. Breathe again. And this time, notice the space between your thoughts. You don't have to create it. It's already here. It's always been here. Now ask yourself, gently, who is aware of this breath? Who is aware of this silence? Don't answer with words. Don't think. Just feel into the question. Let it settle like dust in still water. There's a presence here. quiet, still, witnessing everything without effort. That presence doesn't come and go. It doesn't depend on your mood or your circumstances. It's here when you're happy. It's here when you're heartbroken. It's here right now. Listening to this silence, that presence is you, not the thinking you, not the story, the being you, the awareness that was here before your first thought, before your first memory, the one who will remain after everything else fades. Stay here, rest here. This is your natural state. This is what Ramana meant by be still. Breathe. Now let's make this real, because wisdom that stays abstract isn't wisdom. It's escape. Imagine this. You're in a conversation. Someone says something that cuts, something that makes your chest tighten and your thoughts race. Maybe it's a criticism. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Your mind immediately starts defending, explaining, preparing to fight back. But before you speak, pause. Just for a breath, ask, who is hurt? Who needs to defend? Watch what happens. There's a space between the trigger and your reaction. Most people live their entire lives never noticing this space. They go straight from event to emotion, from thought to action on autopilot. But you can learn to pause in that gap. In that pause, you'll find something extraordinary. The hurt is there, yes, but there's also an awareness watching the hurt. And that awareness isn't hurt. It's just present, witnessing, clear. When you recognize that you are the awareness, not the emotion, everything shifts. You can feel the feeling fully without being consumed by it. You can respond instead of react. You can choose peace instead of war. This is freedom, not the absence of pain, but the end of resistance to pain. Have you noticed that suffering isn't really about what happens, but about your fight with what happens? Stillness is what remains when you stop resisting. Ramana said, thoughts are your enemies. Being free from thoughts, you remain in a state of bliss, not because life becomes perfect, but because you stop arguing with reality. You stop needing things to be different than they are. And in that surrender, there's profound freedom. Meditation, he taught, isn't about concentration. It's not about emptying the mind or achieving some special state. Meditation is simply remaining as your own being, without deviation, without effort, just resting in what you already are. Peace isn't found, it's uncovered. The supreme reality, which is liberation, is experienced only by perfect silence. Yielding to thoughts takes you away from it. Thoughts are the only obstacles. This is the heart of it. Liberation isn't somewhere else. It's here, now, in the silence that holds all things, in the stillness that witnesses all movement, in the space that has never been touched by any experience, no matter how beautiful or devastating. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. You are not the waves. You are the ocean. You are not the thoughts. You are the awareness in which they appear and disappear, like clouds in an endless sky. Stillness is what you are when you stop performing. How many more years will you spend trying to become something you already are? Ramana's final teaching was the simplest and most devastating of all. Be quiet, not as a technique, not as something to perfect, but as a recognition of what you already are beneath the noise. He said, the method is summed up in the words, be still. All that is required to realize the self is to be still. What could be easier than that? And yet, it's the hardest thing in the world, because being still means letting go of control, letting go of the need to know, letting go of the story you've been telling yourself about who you are and who you need to become. It means trusting that beneath the chaos, beneath the fear, beneath the endless commentary, there's something unshakable, something whole, something that has never been broken and never will be. Stillness is not a place you reach. It's what you are when you stop running. It's the ground beneath every experience, the space that holds all things, joy and sorrow, movement and rest, life and death. It's been here all along, patient, quiet, waiting for you to stop long enough to notice. You don't need to become enlightened. You need to stop pretending you're not already whole. Be still. Let this silence accompany you, not as an idea, but as a living presence, not as something you understand, but as something you are. And if this touched something real in you, something beneath the noise, stay with us on this journey inward. More stillness, more truth, more of what you've always been, but forgot you were. Until we meet again, rest in the quiet that you are.